Coming to you live from our separate apartments, it's Late Night with the 1 Hour, One Brain Cell podcast. And welcome to episode 69 of the show. We have so much to discuss. Nice. It might just be our longest show yet, and on Hacks Time we haven't talked to you in 3 episodes, so I'm just gonna skip the pleasantries and go right into the intros. As usual, I'm joined by my co-host, Richie B. Flores, and the B stands for Burnt. How you doing?
I knew you were going to start with that. I knew it.
Just be lucky I didn't pull the picture. I didn't pull the footage.
Did not pull the footage. That's so true. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. And I am joined by our resident OHOBC Danish diva, Jordan.
Thank you so much. I'm really having fun with that title. Oh my goodness gracious.
Side note, I am actually drinking Danish Diva's coffee.
Are you really? Is it good? Oh, the Java House? What is it?
Java House, yeah. The official sponsor of Ed Carpenter Racing. Yeah. They came around to the media center and they gave us a little pods. And it's like, you just pour it in water. And it's like, yeah. And and it's actually not bad.
All right. With or without Splenda, their other sponsor.
Without.
No Splenda. No sweetener.
No Splenda.
That's crazy. That's a lot of caffeine for you today, and I really respect it. But you've also been up for like 326 straight hours, so...
Close enough. It seems like it.
The only guy other than Alex Pillow to continuously be doing media for all of that circuit. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll get into all of that. We have some racing content for you that's not F1 for maybe the first time on this podcast, which is crazy.
Correct.
All right. It only took us like 69 episodes to get here. But,
nice.
All right. Nice. I feel like we should just keep a counter for that of how many times we managed to work the episode number in.
Yeah, that you can make a supercut for on the TikTok for this week, and you do a supercut every time we say TikTok. It.
Okay, nice. Where do we want to start? For goodness sakes.
Go in order, man. We have show notes for a reason, and we can go in order.
Okay, we're going to start with Sinners then, because I finally saw it in the weird liminal space of time in between episodes. I saw it in IMAX 70mm, which I believe you recommended that the people do. Yes. I don't remember if that got cut out of the episode or not, because we had that tech issue while you were talking about it a few episodes ago where my Wi-Fi shat itself. But you recommended people do that, and I stand by. I think that was a good call. It was cool that they brought it back in to some of the theaters for another run, because it was selling out all the screens. So I managed to recruit some friends and colleagues to go with me up to the IMAX in Indianapolis, and it was great. I agreed for the most part with your rating. I couldn't quite give it 5, but it's hard to get a 5 from me for movies.
Yes.
But it was about as close as you could get, I think. It's shot beautifully. I'm not going to say anything that you probably haven't already said about it, but it was shot brilliantly. The score is well done. The cast is excellent. Both Michael B. Jordan and Michael A. Jordan were wonderful. I only saw it the one time, but I do think, like, as I've had more time to reflect on it, that it's one of those films that sort of lends itself to multiple viewings, because there's just so much going on narratively and, you know, from every which way, but it's like too dense to unpack it in just one viewing, because every time you see it, I think you're gonna see something different, and you're gonna pick up something different. But overall, it was a really good, I think, and just like a palatable commentary on a lot of different things, which is the sort of evolution of your the time period, and then the oppressed versus oppressor, through the ages and how that goes on, and just a statement on the power of your heritage and your ancestry and your community and folklore and music, and that being sort of a tie and a tether for all of it. And I think you said it, but the one continuous shot in the juke joint in the middle
Mm-hmm.
is incredible and really really well shot. I would be interested in your commentary on it as somebody that saw Interstellar in 70, right?
Yes.
I thought those are the only two movies I've seen in the 70 millimeter IMAX, but I thought with Interstellar it was necessary to get the full viewing experience. There were only a couple of times in this film that I noticed that it was full 70. Like the
Mm-hmm.
aspect ratio change was cool, like as a plot device and as a storytelling device, but I didn't think it was as critical to an elevated viewing experience to have seen it in 70. Like the sound and the picture of IMAX is great,
Mm-hmm.
but just I don't know, visually it didn't feel as necessary. It was I will still justify that ticket price, but I don't know. Just I didn't feel like you would lose a bunch seeing it in a regular theater either.
I partially agree with you. I partially agree with you. I love seeing cinema that way. Like it just hits so much different. It really does. Seeing
Hmm.
it in that kind of scope again, because he shot it in CinemaScope as well, so he shot it in very wide angle a lot of the movie as well, and so it's just appreciating great filmmaking that way and the way it was meant to be seen. That's why I liked it, and comparing something like Interstellar to Sinners, it's like they're so drastically different. It's really hard to
Yeah.
compare. So, but yeah, I mean, it's like just think of the scene um, where it's when it's the wide. It starts out as the wide shot, and the aspect ratio changes is like the
That was cool.
vampires like enter the
That
jump
was
like
cool.
that. That was sick. And then
Yeah.
I'd say the same thing about the the one shot around with the all the different eras of music and everything. Same thing with that. Like that was I said this at this I think when I first saw it, and I'll say it again. Like seeing that in that mega 70 millimeter format, it was just like one of the great cinema experiences I've had in a long time, and so dang memorable. And I think that's why that movie got made, is that scene, and that is this scene of the entire movie and the entire year for me, really, for sure.
Yeah. I thought it was great. There was a fun, I don't know, all of it was cool. I would love to see, and I think people have been saying this, but I would love a spin-off or just something else to
Yeah.
tie up more of the story that we still don't know, cuz there's more that could be told in this universe. And as much as this works perfectly as a standalone, and the environment that we're in right now, everybody's trying to milk a sequel out of stuff
Mm-hmm.
and do a continuation or a spin-off or whatever. But I could see a loosely tied second film or a series or something like that that would dive into what got left off screen, because I'm sure there's
Yeah.
so much that got cut that would also be great. But
Mm-hmm.
I think I gave it 4.5. It was that was an easy 4.5,
Right.
definitely.
Right. Going to be tough to top so far as we move ahead into the summer, which has the big movies coming out. Mission Impossible is coming out. It already is out. I need to
Mm.
go see it. Uh, maybe tonight after we finish the show. I don't know. We'll
Shoot,
see.
kind of a late night. Yeah, we have the F1 movie coming out in another month too, which
Mm-hmm.
narratively isn't gonna be spectacular. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
expecting any miracles, but I do think the action sequences will be cool.
Yeah.
So
My favorite thing about the F1 movie so far is when they had the premiere in Monaco. All the drivers showed up except for two. One, of course, was Max, who was live streaming on Team Redline.
Yep,
And then
that's my boy.
Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll also didn't show up for some reason.
Yep, that tracks. I don't know. The, very funny. The like all the drivers wearing team kit to see this
Yeah.
movie except like Lewis.
Hmm.
He's like, "No, I'm gonna an excuse to pull up in some fashion. I'm gonna pull up in some
Right.
fashion."
Right.
And good
Right.
for him, as you should. Yeah, let's continue on F1, I guess. Good transition. We had two races that took place since we left you. One of which was Imola. So I guess both of these were like Ferrari races because Imola was Ferrari's home race, one of, and Monaco was Mr. Leclerc's home race.
Hmm.
They didn't manage to win either of those, but
Nope.
that's how it's going. So we had a surprise victory from, well, for me anyway, from Max in Imola. Just I don't see very many people challenging the McLaren going forward, and unless something weird happens with the tech directive that's coming down
Hmm.
this weekend,
Hmm.
it's so hard to beat that car. If they qualify ahead of you on track, they're gonna disappear into the distance while you
Yeah.
chase them.
Right. Yeah, Imola, the great thing about Imola was surprisingly a good race for me in terms of the overtaking, which I did not expect because the 2024 version was not great and there wasn't a lot of
Hmm.
overtaking there. Um, but for whatever reason, 2025 edition, there was a lot more overtaking, especially in the DRS zones, and you're able to move up and down the lineup. And we had Yuki go from pit lane to P10. We had Lewis go from outside the points to P5 finish. Charles Leclerc moved up a little bit there as well. Um, so yeah, great race. And that overtake of by Max on Oscar is like truly one of the great overtakes you'll ever see.
Yeah, I still am baffled watching it about how he pulled that off. And I don't even know if he was going to do it until he was already there and it was too late to back out.
Yeah.
It seems like one of those that you just sort of accidentally ended up alongside the guy and you're like, "Well, okay, too late to back out now.
Hmm.
Might as well just send it." And I think we've talked about this, but if it had been anybody other than Oscar, like for example, Lando, they would have crashed there. But because Oscar is a decent racer and,
Yeah.
knows what he's doing and you know, isn't like yield or crash,
Yeah.
then it was more entertaining to watch. But I mean, it was a good race. I can't complain about it. It was a good race.
Hmm.
Monaco, not so much of a good race. I'm gonna jump ahead on the documents so we can get all that
Yeah,
F1 out
we
of the
don't
way.
really have
But
to spend much time on that. Qualifying was the most interesting part. Again, just watching these guys just whip these cars around like
mhm.
nobody's business and being so close to the edge of wrecking these dang things at all costs. Um, I thought Chuck was going to get it there for a second, and he just got
I
nipped at
did
the end
too.
by Lando. And that was that. Game over. And I got nothing for the race. I watched it, didn't really pay attention to it that much, and there was nothing of note that happened. So, yeah,
Yeah,
we can move
not
on.
not really. Not really. It was crazy that you can send these cars out for 78 laps and have nothing happen. It's
Right.
I don't know. I saw somebody saying this the other day that like F1 has outgrown Monaco. I'm not so sure
Yes.
that's I'm
Yes.
not so sure that's true. It just like I think maybe Monaco has outgrown F1 in its current format. Like just the cars are too big, they're too heavy, and the circuit is not meant for that. Now, normally we get better racing out of the, lower classes, but F2
Hmm.
managed to crash literally everyone on corner 1, which was insane. And if you just go look it up, even if you don't like racing, just go look this
Yeah.
up cuz it's
That
some
was
it's some
legit.
foolery.
Okay, so yeah, that was Saturday, yeah. Sunday morning. So
Mhm.
this was race Indy 500 race day. So I was like
Mhm.
I couldn't sleep I really didn't sleep the night before. Um and I was like jazzed up to go to the race, knowing I had a long day ahead of me, and so I couldn't. So I ended up waking up an hour ahead of when my alarm was supposed to go off. I looked at the time; it was 3:30. I was like, okay, it's 3:30. F2 race is about to start. I'll just watch the F2 race. Why the hell not? And turn one, the biggest shenanigans of all time. Massive, massive pile up, massive red flag, and just ridiculousness that entire race. I believe most of the race was like a safety car and red flag, and so they only raced like, I think in total they probably raced less than 10 laps green flag, which was insane. Yeah, and one of the dumbest moves you'll ever see in turn one in that race, and to open the race, where the pole sitter gets beat off the line. He's clearly beat going into turn one, and he just takes the guy out, and it was just so stupid. And I was like, this is why you're in F2 and not in F1, buddy.
Yep.
But congratulations to the American Jack Crawford. We got to hear the American national anthem atop the podium.
There was some foolery
Yes.
with that race, I'll tell you that. So anyway, the highlights of that. And then I think there was also, I don't remember what class it was, but there was like a Porsche Cup race or something else that happened, and a billion people crashed there too. It was like, uh-oh, the circuit is cursed, and then F1 happened, and then nothing happened. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. But that was, far from the least exciting race that we were expecting to get out of the weekend, and I think the Indy 500 delivered, as far as being entertaining, at least. Maybe not in the same way as like last year's 500, but in a different sense.
I agree. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this as somebody who watched it from the grandstands, as opposed to me, who was like wandering around in like 15 different places and was watching from the media center, was watching from pit lane, from the grandstands a little bit, and so it's like so much different for me. But yeah, this was both of our first Indy 500s. Both of our first, we were at Carb Day as well. We got to see each other in person. That was nice. We arrived at the same exact time, which was wild. I did not expect that. And I look over at there's a little media shuttle that takes you from the media parking lot to like the media center. And I was like, we can just walk there. That's fine. And then I look over at the shuttle that's passing by us, and I'd be like, hey, I know you.
That was crazy. The folks that were in the back of the golf cart with me were giggling when I was waving at you guys going by. They were like, "Oh my goodness, you left your people." So, the Speed Freaks crew was gracious enough to let me social media intern with them for the weekend. And I felt like such a fool walking around with that media badge, but I had a great time. So I had no idea where to go or where to be. I was sort of just wandering around, deciding that as long as I looked like I knew where I was going, it would be perfectly fine and nobody would say anything. And that's essentially what happened. Because I went to the office, I got my credential, I came back, and I put the parking pass in my car, and you had sent me directions to your location or whatever. And I go to click on your location, and I've never seen it say this before, but it said, cannot get directions to and from the same starting location. So I'm looking at my phone, and I'm looking around. Where is he? Because he has to be right here if it won't give me directions to him. And you were just across the street, but I went through the media entrance. They waved me through like I was somebody important, and the golf cart pulled up, and I was so just in the whirlwind of the thing, and they were like, hey, there's one spot left. And I was like, okay, great. I just got in the golf cart. I was like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where this is going to drop me off or what's happening here. I just got on. I was like, okay, let's find out where it takes me. I was just along for the ride. And I drive by, and I'm kind of looking for you guys, and then I spotted you walking, and it was very funny to give you a little parade wave from the cart as I drove by. But it was cool to tag along with you guys and be in on some of that stuff. And it definitely made me feel more like I had a horse in the race for the actual race day, because I sort of poked around and seen some drivers and some teams and things like that. And started to get into the lore of the race. And so it was more interesting on race day, definitely, to have a little connection to it, even if it was just carb day. But carb day is cool. Carb day is kind of underrated because for how massive the traffic and everything was on actual 500 day, you don't get the same kind of freedom and access and, whatever that you do on carb day on race day. So if you're just sort of a casual fan and you want to go poke around, that's a good opportunity to do it. The Weenie 500 looked like a great race. I missed it, but looked like there was a pass at the bricks for the Weenie trophy.
There was in the last 500 feet there we had an overtake at the finish line for the win. That was so much fun, man. I didn't know what to expect from it, and it was really super silly, but it was so much fun. The crowd was super duper into it. They were booing the New York dog, and everybody was super into it, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm bummed you missed out on that. Pit stop competition was cool on Friday as well. Won by Joseph Newgarden. Who else, of course?
Well, it didn't translate to race day, so
unfortunately, yeah.
But
yeah,
love booing people. Indianapolis loves booing people. They're booing everybody with a New York connection all weekend, and they booed the hell out of Tom Brady on Sunday. And we rolled up, and we had just got there at that point. Like, we literally had just arrived in the bleachers when we got there, and it was such a mess. But we walked up and they were announcing that, he was coming out to do the 2-seater ride, and everyone and their mother was booing Tom Brady, and I was the only idiot, like, woo, in the front. But nobody was going to say anything to me, but I'm like, okay, that's my guy. So, yeah, we just arrived. We left the house at 7 a.m. We should have perhaps left earlier, and I had a feeling that we should have left earlier, but when you're with other people, it's hard to, roll everybody out at the same time. And I didn't want to make my parents get up at like 4 a.m. That's not fair. Right. And they're still on Arizona time. So, they're 3 hours behind, and the whole thing was just, I thought maybe foolishly, I thought we could shoot the gap between the, 6 or 7 a.m. like gates open arrivers and everybody else. And there was no gap. There just was no gap. So it took us the full hour to get it, and it was deceptive because it was pretty fine going up there, but it was bad because you had texted me already that the media lot was full at 6:30 in the morning.
6 a.m. We got there a little after 6.
Parking was shot. So we had to, figure something else out. But it was pretty chill, and then you start to come up to the exits for the racetrack. And the traffic is back so far, and it is so many lanes dense that your only options are like get to the right as soon as possible and sit in an exit and just be patient and wait your turn, or to be the worst version of yourself imaginable and to drive up in the left as close as you can to the exit and then start cutting people off. Yeah. And that's the only two options. There's no middle ground there. You can't be respectful and arrive in a reasonable amount of time. You can't have both. So we got in and we skipped the first exit because I looked at the traffic patterns map and sort of we were figuring out where we wanted to go. And so we didn't go off on the first exit. We went off on the second exit. Mistake number one. It took us, we were stopped up probably a mile and a half from the exit. So we were just under this overpass. It took us 3 hours to travel the remaining 1.5 miles. And the issue was that where we were at, I had decided to be sensible and to move to the right and just stay in my lane. And I figured we would all merge off in a lovely, fairly long, but like fine, orderly amount of time. The issue was that where we were at, we were getting cut off by all those people that were steaming up to the left and then cutting over, which is going to happen. But we were also getting cut off by people that were entering from an on-ramp on the right. And so the 2 lanes on the right that were just sitting and waiting, we were both getting cut off just intermittently. And so we weren't moving at all. And at some point, I had to pull an F1 pit maneuver and jump out to the left and cut up and go all the way around this like four-way merge nonsense and cut up there. And I genuinely think that if I hadn't done that, we would still be sitting on that freeway on-ramp to this day, because we watched the entirety of Monaco in the time it took us to move a mile, 1.3 miles, essentially, on the freeway. And so we got off the freeway, and at that point, everyone had to pee so bad, and we were all just so miserable that we took the first parking we saw, which was crazy, like back up this hill in a grassy lot, like the kind where the parking attendant like looks at you and then kind of looks at the hill and is like, "Are you a good driver?" before they let you park there, because you got to like back down the hill. So thank you for four-wheel drive past me when you bought this car, because that worked. And legitimately, logistically, the only thing we did right was leave. After the race, the only thing we did right was leave, because we stayed and we hung out a little bit and we saw the victory lap and the kiss the bricks and the trophy and everything else. And we left and we walked past the line of people trying to leave from this street side parking lot in the grass. And we decided to go out the other way because we're like, what's the worst that could happen, right? Like, we get to the end and we find out it doesn't work and you just turn around and go back. So we try to drive out that way, and there's this man walking on the left, and I got my window rolled down because I'm just trying to make sure nobody's yelling at me for it. And we drive by this guy and he goes, "Hey, you can't go out that way." I was like, "Okay, thanks." I just keep driving straight. You so could go out that way. So I just like pulled over this little curb, went out. There was a cop right there who was like blocking traffic going the other way, and he didn't care. He was like, "Okay, whatever, go ahead." Went out, went left, got on the freeway, got to the hotel in 15 minutes.
Booyah.
But that's so miserable that the only thing that we did right that day was leave. So in the future, we learned a lot of lessons from this, and we learned that exclusively almost everything we did was wrong and not to do it again. I would go back. With all that said, I would go back knowing what I know now and, whatever else. But it was a little bit of an endeavor and a unfortunate bonding experience with my parents, because we got to the point where we were like, "Oh my God, we're gonna die here. We're just never getting off this freeway."
That's insane. Well, now it's even more memorable, the first experience.
Oh yeah. And for my mom, I think it may be first and last. I don't know if she's willing to try it again. My dad is going to have to be brave. My mom, I don't know. We might have pushed her over the edge on it.
All right. Well, I will see you next year.
Okay. Yeah. Same time, same place.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. I don't care. I'll buy my own damn ticket. I want to do it on the Speed Freaks time. I'll just, I'll stay on your couch.
Sure. I have an air mattress. Doesn't need to be that, making people think that I'm putting you out and making you sleep on the floor.
And we won't sleep, and we'll leave. We'll leave at 1:00 in the morning and get there super.
We've done worse things, arguably. You and I, we've camped out longer in person.
Oh yeah, that's so true. I mean, honestly, like in terms of miserable experiences, staying outside in the rain for 8 hours. Or sitting in traffic for 4 hours, those are pretty stable, right? Because it's the same thing. You're just stuck there and you can't do anything. I don't want to compare apples to apples to oranges or whatever, but
no, I do think the rain journey was worse because at least it wasn't raining.
Yeah,
it wasn't raining. We were in dry clothes. We were in an air conditioned environment. We had music. We had the Monaco Grand Prix. It was far from the worst experience I've ever had, but it wasn't great. I was pretty mad at a lot of other drivers, and I was not the best version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
We were at a point where we were like gonna start sticking cash out the window and be like, "Please let me in." And I think some people literally were doing that, but it was like, "Do you have a 20? Can we bribe this dude? Because he's not letting me in." I really did. I got boxed off a couple of times. I was pretty mad at some people because they would not let me in, where there was a space And people were parking. That was the thing, is like folks were parking and getting out of their cars and walking. So they were like walking up the off ramp to go find a bathroom or something, because we've been stuck in traffic for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And people were parked and they were in their coolers in the back of their trucks, and they were talking to other cars and smoking on the side of the highway and just whatever it is that you do. But this person had gotten out of their car and was behind the car looking at the cooler, and traffic started to move, and I was like, okay, great, I'll go in front of him. So I went and I put my nose in there, and he came around, got back in his car, and drove up in front and wouldn't let me in. And that was my breaking point. I was like, I'm gonna have a Branzino crash out. I truly am. But we didn't. We all arrived safely, and
Got there.
it was a pretty good race. We could see all the way down to turn 1, so we got a decent view of much of the passing that occurred.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good seats.
Yeah, I was very curious to hear, like I mentioned earlier, but curious your take on the race, because, like, from my perspective, and I said this on Speed Freaks over the weekend, I was like, if you graded out of 10, for me, it was like an 8.42, because it wasn't the 10 out of 10 races from 23 and 24, which were incredible and darn near perfect and some of the best racing I've ever seen. Because there wasn't a lot of passing at the 2025 Indy 500, but there was so many storylines, and it was such a weird and wacky race that, like, it was tough not to enjoy it, right? Like, anytime, like, I don't know what I'm curious to. We'll start with the Scott McLaughlin thing, because I want to know what your perspective of this was. So, like, you know, you get the, like, I was out on the grid. I was out there, and I was during the national anthem walking around, and all the people were on the grid, and I ended up finding my way to the very front to where the 2-seater is, and so Jimmy Johnson and Tom Brady were out there, and so that's kind of where I was for a lot of the pre-race festivities. And then once we were done with that, I went and I kind of stuck myself into at the very end of pit road. We're going right into turn 1. So that's where I was. And then we're in the pace lap. We're like, all right, after all this delay, we're like finally going to get this dang race started. And then, so I'm like, I think I'm on my phone tweeting that we're about to start or whatever. And then I hear a noise from the crowd and a sound of a crashed race car. And I look over. I'm like, what the hell just happened? And I see Scott McLaughlin cutting through the grass, crashed, and go, what in the world just happened? And as soon as that happened, you were like, oh boy, we are in for one in this race. In for one.
It really was. That was an indicator that we were in for a wild one right away. Like, when somebody crashes during the pace laps, and like, this is gonna be a squirrely one. That I don't know. I don't know if it was cold tires, if it was there might have been moisture on track. I mean, it could have been a combination of any of those things, but he just lost the car, and it's unfortunate because I kind of like that dude, despite the Penske thing.
Yeah, me too. I was absolutely heartbreaking. Like, when he, you see those shots of him with his, like, hand in his hand,
reaction
his
was crushing.
head in his hands, and you can just see that's what this race does to you, man. That's what it does to you. And he's going to win this race at some point. I think Scott McLaughlin is a terrific driver, and he's only gotten better as he's gone on in open wheel. So, my AirPods are about to die. I just got a noise. So let me see. Hang on a second.
Switch them.
Stand by. Okay, we're going to do a little switch. Okay, there we go. Okay, are we connected? Ooh, that's... Ooh.
What does it sound like? You underwater?
It doesn't sound great. This AirPod, I'm pretty sure this AirPod is broken. And it has been for 6 months. I think I'm due for a new pair. I can still hear you, but it's not great.
That's okay. You don't need to hear me anyway. Just keep going. That's not the important part of this.
But anyway, so you get I think Scott McLaughlin is a terrific driver. He's going to win the Indy 500 eventually. He was actually one of my picks to win the race as well. So to see him go out so early was absolutely a bummer. And you start the race, and then you immediately get another crash with Marco Andretti. You're like, oh boy.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. And then there what other crashes were there? There was Well, Takuma Sato missed his pit box by about 6 feet, which was crazy because he had been leading a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
laps. I was pulling for that guy. I wanted him to win.
He's
And
short.
Rob,
He's very, very short.
he's little. He's a short
Might
king.
be the tiniest, one of the tiniest human beings I've ever seen in my life.
That's so funny. Yeah,
Kid you
I
not.
like him though. I like him. And is he Ray Hall Letterman racing?
Yep. Yep.
My dad likes them because he likes David Letterman's involvement in this. But
Yeah.
anyway, we all had like weird allegiances. My mom was like, I like Alex Pillow. And we're like, why? She's like, well, I did my research, which I think mostly was just like she saw that he had won a bunch and was like, I like that one. And she also likes Joseph Newgarden. And
Mm-hmm.
then Newgarden went out, and I was like, okay, interesting. My dad liked Stingray Robb, who ended up going out, which was a shame because he was collateral damage in another crash. And then all the Ray Hall Letterman guys. And then I was pulling for, I don't know, I was pulling for our Danish Diva. We were right across from his pit box. And then I wanted Takuma to win. I would have been fine if Pato had won. Just he got a heartbreaker last year.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been nice to have the little redemption story. I don't like McLaren, but I'm willing to separate those two from F1
Mm-hmm.
McLaren and IndyCar McLaren just a little bit. I'm willing to separate them a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Not enough to go buy their merch or anything like that, but enough to tolerate it if they have success. But it was a good race, I think, all in all. There was some craziness definitely that would have I wonder how well it translated, like not being at the race. Like if you were just on a TV broadcast, I wonder how well it translated with all that goofy stuff going on. But it seemed like every couple of seconds it was like something strange is happening, something's occurring. Guys are guys are having to pit again. Someone's on fire. Like it was somebody. Robert Schwartzman ran over his pit crew. Which
Mm-hmm.
okay, you lock the front tires. It's not like he meant to go hit those guys, but like crazy stuff was happening. And for somebody that's really only ever watched motorsport in the extent of like F1, that felt like a clown show to me. But like fun, kind of a fun little circus. But I don't wish that every weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm glad you enjoyed the race from the stands perspective. Again, because my perspective was so much different. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Awesome. Congratulations to Alex Pillow. I told you this. I told you this on Sunday too. But like, that's one of the cool things for me is that like, Alex Pillow is legit going to be an all-time great IndyCar driver. He's on a track to be that way. He's only 25,
Mm-hmm.
and he's already etching into the top 20 in all-time IndyCar wins, which is insane. And he's gonna win his fourth championship this year. Great stat where like if he misses out on the next like 2 races or 3 races, he'd still be leading the points. I think it's
Well,
and
there's only like one other driver that's won a race this season, right? It's Kyle Kirkwood.
Kyle Kirkwood, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then the other one was that the gap between Pillow and Pato is the same as like Pato is to the bottom.
All right.
Just
That's
ridiculous.
dominance. That's dominance.
So yeah, so
Alex
we got
Pillow
to
has
see an
done
all
Team Redline stuff, so I'm fine
Yeah.
with him succeeding. I like
we
it.
got to see an all-time great win his first Indianapolis 500, which I think is a really cool thing. And I'm a big fan of Alex Pillow. I think in terms of not only from a driving perspective, but I think he's a really likable dude. And you can see that in the fact that he's been doing media for like 72 straight hours.
Every time I see that guy, he's somewhere else doing media.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, yeah. Can't believe they made him go to the Pacers game that night. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that was crazy. But good for him. That was really fun. He seems like a really likable guy, and it was cool that his family was there to take that in and celebrate with him. And Chip Ganassi like just siphoning off of his milk, like give it back, bro. Milk is a weird tradition. Anyway, are there any like lactose intolerant drivers? Do you know this off the top of your head? Did they do something different?
They will. Yeah, you can like they ask you for your milk preference, and then they have additional like preferences, and so you can like whatever 2% milk, lactose free. So you can they do have lactose free options, but none of the drivers, as far as we
Oat
know,
milk for the winner.
yeah, none of the drivers actually picked as anything outside of like I think one picked skim milk. Most of them picked whole. A couple picked 2%.
Skim milk is a questionable choice. I
No
can't trust
buttermilk.
that.
No buttermilk. Which buttermilk was like the first. That was the original.
That's thick. That stuff is thick. You don't.
Yeah.
That's not for drinking. That's for
Yeah.
making pancakes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. No oat milk for the winners at the Indy 500, I guess.
Also, by the way, real quick, we went to the museum on Sunday morning before
yeah.
the race, which was wild. But anyway, it was really cool. Completely new. They opened it like a month ago, and it was cool. They did a really great job in the remodel of that place. Just seeing like how the cars have evolved over the decades is just like so crazy. Like these big ass, tiny ass little tires running over brick
They were
at
like
75.
little tube sausage cars with like
Yeah.
baby wheels on them. You're like, how did we
And
drive
this
these
big
things?
ass steering wheel. And
Yeah.
they used to have two seats in it, so you'd have one for the driver and one for the mechanic at the same time. Like it's crazy, absolutely crazy stuff. But yeah, that was cool to go and check out the museum and get a little bit of the history of it. I crushed it at the reaction timer. There was like, you go and you like press the little dots. Crushed
Oh,
it.
like the light, the eye training.
Yeah, yeah. Crushed
cool.
it. I got like a
Alright.
green light and was like, "You did great." I'm like, "Hell yeah, I did."
You did great. Love a positive reinforcement on that. I would love
There was
to
also
try
they
it.
also did have
I
like
haven't been to the new museum, but maybe next year.
yeah, they had some sim vehicles there too, but like we were crunched for time, so like I couldn't go wait in line to do it. But look, I would have loved to do that. So maybe next time.
I can't believe you guys went the morning of the race with your limited spare time.
Yeah, and so
Might
we
as
did.
well.
We were there for a while too. We were there from like 7 o'clock until 9. We were there for 2 hours and could have spent more time there too.
Yeah. I was still on the freeway at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll trade you. Trade you experiences. Oh god. All right. As we mentioned previously on the show, we have been missing in action for 3 hacks worth of episodes. Just today, when we're recording this, we got the immaculate knowledge that it has been renewed for season 5, which is excellent, and we are very much looking forward to that. And last week was a double drop, so it's a little bit sketchy on time because we haven't missed 3 weeks. We've only missed a week, but we have 3 episodes to talk about, and tomorrow is the finale. So we're going to be a full week behind when we recap that next week, but we'll deal with it later. Time isn't real. I put some bullets in the show notes for you because it does feel like it's been a hot second. We will talk about, probably more briefly, episodes 7 and 8 as compared to 9, because there was a lot that went down in episode 9. And it was most recent. So what did you think? This was, I think, my mom's favorite episode of the bunch was dechristening, because she loves, what's her name? Caitlin Olsen? That plays DJ. She loves Caitlin Olsen, and every time she's on the show, it's just great interaction between her and the rest of the cast.
First of all, I'm glad that in that episode we got like a reunion of the whole crew. We got Marcus back and Josefina, so that was nice.
We did. I think they were walking up, and he's like, "The Holy Trinity is back," and Josefina goes, "I'm the ghost one." I like you, girl. I like you. She's making her screen time count. Marcus, it was good to see Marcus.
I also enjoyed that we got Godmother Ava, who was like having an absolute blast.
She really was. That was a fun scene when she like brought the inclusive baby books But it was like, are you sure you want me to be your kid's godmom? Because that's like a lot of responsibility. But I really do think that we maybe all need DJ's therapist's phone number because it seems like she's worked through this a lot in the off-screen that we've had. She's
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of off-screen character development that she's like come to grips with what her relationship with her mom is and is like, hey, I'm not doing that. So whatever happens in the future, I want to make sure my kid is set up with,
Mm-hmm.
a community and people that care about him and et cetera, et cetera. And I've chosen you to be Godmama Ava, and also will you go fill my Stanley with holy water, which was funny. The the jewelry, the people that go, she's figured out that the people that go to Sunday service have a little extra cash for the collection basket, and so they're a good market to sell
Mm-hmm.
decrosses or whatever to, which is very funny. It's like this
Genius.
is a consumer market. We could sell here. It's decapitalism.
Genius.
We got Lassie biting Jimmy in this episode, which was crazy. And they were like, "Oh yeah, her owners are anti-vax, so you're gonna need a lot of shots." Insane. Jimmy gets like a couple of different infections from this. I think they like say that it's like ringworm, and then it's staph, and then but it's crazy stuff. Like that
Mm-hmm.
should not happen from a dog bite. But poor Jimmy goes through the ringer in this like 3 episode arc, but he really comes into his own in a way that I don't think we've seen him so far in the show or in the series. And credit to Paul for writing and producing the show and then also starring in it and doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Multi-talented king. What else we got? Oh yeah, the the scene in the car at the end where they're like, "Oh yeah, heaven is fake, but hell is real, and we should put that on a t-shirt." And then Deborah goes to visit the local comedy scene and starts propping up, aspiring comics. Ahmed Weinberg is one, and he is a real person. And those jokes that were on the show are his jokes, which
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were really great. And he's really funny, and he has like a little. It's not like a special, but it's like some comedy bit that's out of his that you can go
Mm-hmm.
watch if you think that he's funny, which I did, and that's kind of cool because it feels like he could be an invention or a character in the Hacks universe, but
Mm-hmm.
he's very much a real person and a real comic. What else? Okay, episode 8. This is when Ava's mom comes back, and that's always such a funny dynamic between Ava and her mom because
Mm-hmm.
her mom is so neurotic in a way that's like kind of uncomfortable to watch, but also you can't look away. It's like a car crash. She's just gonna say something out of pocket, but
Right.
you can't look away from it. And I think she tells her like it's so cool that they let you live next to a cheesecake factory. There's so many good callbacks on that. Jimmy's in his sad boy arc because he feels like he's being taken for granted as a manager because Ava and Deborah didn't tell him that they've made up. Like that's I think the episode where they start out and they're all having lunch together and Jimmy asks for the knives to be removed from the table like just in case.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, what? We didn't get any steak knives? That's so weird. Can you bring us some knives?" It's like that's crazy.
Also, yeah, I thought you and I both had the same reaction, which is like, oh, who's gonna show up to this? And you and I did not realize it was actually gonna be Deborah and Ava, and we thought it was gonna be somebody else. Like I thought it was gonna be Dan's mom.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a much more tense meeting, and then it was Ava and Deborah, and it was like, oh, no, they're actually cool. They've made up a couple
Mm-hmm.
episodes ago. Sorry we didn't tell you. Let's see. Oh, this is the one where we get Deborah in the green screen suit with all the little mocap balls on her, which is very funny. And this is the Mayor Joe episode. The Mayor Joe episode. So we go back to our friend Mayor Joe from Las Vegas, and she's had a little bit of an adventure, a newsworthy adventure, shall we say? Some ice capades, and the media is just skewering her for this, which is it's gonna happen. But Deborah goes to her house in Vegas and we get female Tom Cruise, where Richie and I are like, that's Jean Smart jumping the wall. It so was not. She's like 74 and it's a 6 foot wall, but like, I wouldn't put it past her. But she like jumps the wall into Mayor Joe's backyard, and then she has a very touching moment with her where she's like, look, people are going to laugh at you for this, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to come on the late night show and talk about it and tell your story. And she says something to the effect of like, you can make the laughs your own. And she does a really great job of, leaning into it, but then, just she owns up to it, but she also gets a good laugh. And I think it's very like cathartic for that. And one of the only times I think that we've seen Deborah be the one to extend the olive branch. We've gotten a good arc from her this season about more so leading with her heart, and trying to prioritize her people. And it's been a hard balance, obviously, because now she's got all these network responsibilities and this commitment and this pressure and all that. But we've also seen her try to be a little more empathetic. So I think that was a really good scene. It was very touching. Kayla goes full gorilla mode on her dad because he's trying to poach her. And this is when they go to number 1 in late night. So they pitch. I think they pitch. What is it? It's like they record and then they release a clip that night, and then they do the taping like the next day. So it's on a delay of some sort where like they won't be able to do the most topical things in the moment, but they'll be able to have a different commentary on it, and they're getting different guests and things like that. And it goes back to at the end of episode 6 where they're like, hey, we need to start making this show for us in the voice that we've found that works. And they go to number 1 in late night, which is amazing. And then they're free of Stacy. They're free of the chaperone. She has to go take a mental health vacation for herself from dealing with the two of them. And then here comes Bob Lipka to ruin everything. As usual, a man ruining everything. Not you though. You're great. Just so we're all clear. And
Okay,
episode 9.
I'm gonna quit the show now, everybody. See you later.
No, you can't. We've only made it 69 episodes.
Nice.
Thank you. I knew you would be in on that. Thank you. So yeah, here's Bob to ruin everything. And they bring this controversial guest onto the show because he says that they have to, because it'll be good for ratings. And the Jimmy and Kayla adventure in this episode is wild. They're just like, I feel like they've just been driving around the back lot for like the whole season.
Dance Mom!
Yeah, Dance Mom. Dance Mom goes fully missing. And they're convinced that like she might be dead somewhere because she's not at the Harry Potter ride where she likes to go flash people when the picture's taken. My mom thought that was funny also.
Real quick, can I provide some context to this real quick?
Yes, please do.
Not about flashing people on the Harry Potter ride. I don't want to know anything about that. But
Episode title. I don't know if we can do that actually.
that's it. It's on a hey, we can find out.
I guess we could.
Okay, so full disclosure, I was late to watching the episode by multiple days because I only have one device that I have access to HBO on, and that is my home Roku, and that's it. So I could not watch the show live on Thursday or any other day until after I got back home on Monday. And it just so happened that like our talk about a crash out, this is like the bookend of crash outs. I was crashing out on Monday there for a bit.
You were, and I was away from my phone because I had such a caffeine headache from Sunday because I ingested 2 Red Bulls, and I don't usually do that. But like,
Right.
I had one in the morning, and then my dad managed to snag somebody from the street team that was just like giving them out at the front gate, and he like got me one. I almost cried. I was so happy because I'd just been sitting in traffic for 4 hours, and my dad handed me a can of Red Bull. I was like, I think I might cry. But I had ingested more caffeine than I'm used to that day.
Mm-hmm.
and I was fighting off so like the headache demons. I was
Oh yeah.
fighting the headache demons. And so my phone was in the other room because I was getting ready for bed. It was like 8:30. I was like, I'm just gonna go to bed. That's the only thing that'll fix it. and, and all of a sudden it starts going off in the other room. I was like, I wonder if that's Richie watching Hacks. And surely it was. Um, and I think there were, by the time it was all said and done, I think it was like 17 separate messages. Um,
Let me count. Let me
iconic,
count.
actually. Iconic.
Yeah, so I didn't anyway, yeah. I had two different delays because the damn planes couldn't get fixed. I was in four different airports across a span of 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Crash out central. So thank God for thank God hacks for making my day much much better. Okay. So I sent you so many
It was only
unsolicited
16.
messages.
It was only
Okay, here we go.
16.
I'll include the picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah.
13 texts in a row. At what point at what point I realized that you were just never going to text me back. And I was like, you know what? I am too far deep into this. I'm just going to keep going. You'll see
Mm-hmm.
them in the morning when you wake up, whatever. But,
I
you
really
know,
did enjoy it because I got the full living vicariously through you re-experience of the episode in reading those texts, which was the same reaction that I had that also validated my experience. So thank you.
the funny thing is, as a lot of them are just like 2 words long.
Mm-hmm. But I knew exactly where you were at. It was like you were like, yes, Deb, yes, Jimmy, Robbie back. Hacks Tonight Queen was very funny. And then I'm glad that you got to the basketball scene because that was one that I had a very strong urge to text you about because I was like, I don't think it'll give anything away, but I need you to experience this. But I kept quiet about it, which was very hard for me. But you would have done the same if I had been behind. I know you would have done the same about
Yes,
abstaining from sending me content. So
correct.
I had to be kind about it. That was crazy. And I'm not glad that it was this episode that we were so off on, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that it probably won't happen again until maybe next season. But
Right.
because I've already alerted the Little Debbie's group chat for this week. We're on alert. We're on notice.
We are recording exactly right now. It's exactly 24 hours before the finale drops.
We're not doing well, by the way. I personally am not doing well. Um, what do you mean I'm supposed to do? What am I supposed to do next Thursday when there's no
Th-
hacks on my
Thursday
television
at 9
screen?
o'clock.
What am I supposed to do? Go to sleep? No. Where's Gene Smart? Give it. Give me Deborah Vance or give me death.
Mm-hmm.
We established this week that I think the writer's room just learned what boof meant and then really wrote it into everything, which was very funny.
That entire
I
scene, I think, is one of my favorite scenes in the entire season.
I would
Um,
agree. I think this whole episode is like one of my favorite in the whole.
yeah.
It's arguably the best of the season so far, but like
Hmm.
maybe one of the best of the series.
I could 100% see that. Absolutely. Everybody was completely on their A game. And I think I may have mentioned this to you. I maybe not, or maybe I just thought it to myself and never told you until now. So I'll be surprised at you. But like, it was like one of those episodes that like felt like it was the season finale, and then like next week is gonna be kind of the essentially like almost season premiere of the next season, if that's a way to describe it. Game of Thrones was famous for doing this, where their episode 9 would essentially be their season finale, and then episode 10 would be essentially kind of the teaser for the next season. And that seemed like kind of what they did here, because like writers did such a good job here of wrapping up so many storylines, really, and in this episode, and with so many great callbacks. And one of my favorite scenes in the episode is and and the story arcs of the season is Jimmy and how doesn't have that dog in him, all season long.
Well,
Like,
he had Lassie's teeth in him, but other than that, yeah.
yeah, like when the guy is like, oh, I'm in cancer remission now, and Jimmy just like, all right, cool, see you later, doesn't fight for
Yeah.
him, and
It's like, oh, cool. Like, we believed in you when you were terminal and gave you a platform. And
yeah,
now that you're in remission, you're going to go sign with Kayla's dad, our direct
mm-hmm,
competitor. Okay.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. And then we get in this episode where it's the complete opposite, and he literally chases down Bob Lipka to keep the show on the air, and like tackles him, and was like, "Yes, Jimmy, yes,
It was
yes."
great. And
Yeah.
the bit with the purse, he had that bit with the purse like earlier in the episode where he was like, God, pull yourself together. And he like has this like shoulder bag and he's like leaving out the. Very funny. Very funny. Just physical comedy. But I'll say this because I know that we talked about Kayla being like Jimmy's worst nightmare through the first couple of seasons, which she was.
Yes.
But like every good relationship in this show is like slightly dysfunctional. And I do think that he needed Kayla to encourage him to stand up for himself.
Yes.
In a very weird way. But Schaefer and Lusac forever, probably. And Robbie. I don't remember what, yeah, If we get more of Robbie, I hope we do. Robbie's just like on the bus forever in this show. Like, where's Robbie? She's on public transit. Yeah.
Again, yeah, Kayla's arc has been terrific all season long too, and Megan Stalter, give her the Emmy too. I don't just give the whole I guess what we're trying to say is give Hacks the Emmy for best comedy series, and then everybody wins.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's been a big season for her too. I think like between her and Jimmy and even Dan's mom had a good arc, but just characters that weren't necessarily key critical players in the rest, especially in season 3. I feel like they kind of got overlooked in season 3, but they're having their full circle moment as well. So just great writing.
Yeah, I mean we mentioned DJ earlier, and it's the same thing with her. Like, she had the character progression of her, and that entire conversation between her and Deborah, basically they kind of come to Jesus, like, hey, get your shit together. I don't want you to not have contact with me or your grandkid, type of thing. Great. That was so terrific. And what was it? It was like NC, no contact. Like, I don't want to go NC.
Low contact. Yeah, I don't remember what the other one was. It was like, but very funny. She's like, I will go NC. We'll go full NC, no contact. And she's like smashing the communion wafers into her face. It was very funny. And again, call back because Deborah made some jokes about the Pope or something. I don't know, like earlier in her career, and the church doesn't like her. They're not on good terms. And she shows up and promptly makes a scene again about something that's DJ's thing, because that's just who she is.
Right.
And we get the big explosion at the end, the big burn it all down moment when Bob Lipka gives Deborah an ultimatum, which is, you have to fire Ava because she's gone out with this story now about this controversial guest that we had, and she's told her former employers over at On the Contrary about it, and this story is gonna get traced back to us, that it came from us, it came from here, it came from the writer's room, it came from Ava, so you gotta fire her. Or we're that's just what it is. And Deborah calls Jimmy and is like, hey, I've been bad to you, but I need your help. We have to assemble the Avengers for this thing. And she does, and this is something that you and I were both wrong about, is in our predictions earlier, we were like, I don't see her giving up late night. It's something weird is going to have to happen. And something weird did happen. So I guess we weren't totally wrong, but we didn't see her giving. She's been on late night for the equivalent of like 20 minutes this season. And it was this thing that she's like worked her whole life for. And she's somebody who like sued the socks off of Ava like 2 seasons ago for some non-disclosure agreement thing that I don't remember. It was probably an email that she sent because she's bad about that. But the whole thing is like, okay, we're gonna burn it down because now I'm protecting my people. And it's a very full circle moment, and again, not a kind of growth or empathy that we've seen yet from her, and not a kind of heart that we've seen from her yet. And it's very refreshing for this character to sort of just trace where she started in season 1 to where Deborah is now. Is very much a human growth, and it's great. Jean Smart for the Emmy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think she's got that on lock.
I hope
100%.
so.
Yeah, so
I
yeah,
hope
we
Hannah
get to
has an Emmy. I hope Hannah.
Yes.
You and I say it feels like every day that Hannah's getting her Emmy this season, but like truly, the show would not work without both of them being at the top of their game and at the level that they're on. And it's
Right.
criminal to this point that Hannah Einbinder has gone unrecognized with those little golden trophies.
Amy Binder coming up this year.
Hannah Emmy Binder will be in our suits in our living room.
Yes, exactly. I will say, I think it's the last like 10 minutes or so of this episode where I was like panicking because I was like, I sent you the text. I said, "Oh, I'm hating the scene at the Oscars and Ava sprinting back and her badge not working." I was like full panic mode.
And like you could trace it too. You could just feel that something was gonna happen, but you never knew exactly what it was gonna be. And I just always thought that it was gonna be worse than what it was. The
Yeah.
gate guard has had a really fun arc this season too. Like the gate guard where Ava drives through the gate when she's having her Branzino crash out, and then Jimmy almost drives through the gate in the golf cart, and then she's like, "Hey, that gate's been broken ever since somebody drove through it, so I'm just gonna, close my eyes for a second. Whatever happens, happens." And she sprints back to the lot, which is, I don't know, it kind of felt very La La Land in a way. Like at the end when they're stuck in traffic and they're going to the jazz club and they're like, "Do you want to just park and walk?" Like they're trying to go to some,
Yeah.
I don't know, award show. They're like, "Do you want to just park?" They just get out and walk. I'm like, she's gonna get out and run. And then they've been making that girl do so much cardio this season. Can we recognize her for that? It's like the last 3 episodes, she's been running somewhere. You're like, please stop making her do that.
Right.
Yeah, Tom Cruise again. Tom Cruise on camera, but a great
But yeah,
ending.
yeah.
High stakes.
I was panicking there for a bit, having to watch this by myself since you had your phone in the other room. So I was like, "Oh God, what's happening here? What's happening? I don't like this at all." But it
It was
worked
fun
out
to
well.
be a third party for that.
But then yeah, it worked out all well because we get Deborah's line. "I'm being asked to fire somebody I love and I won't do it." It's like respect.
That's my girl. That's my girl, Deb. She wouldn't do it, and she went out there and was like, "Let me recognize all the crew, all the staff, all my writers, my manager, Jimmy, and let me just. This is I've been working for this for my whole life. It was a dream, and the dream has changed, and so have I," or something to that effect. And it was very touching, and just very Deborah. Like let's just go out, let's burn it down. And Jimmy in the background, like wrestling with Bob Lipka, like getting a bloody nose. He's like, "Don't cut it!" Throwing the phone on the ground. It was very good. It was very
Yeah.
good. You needed everybody. You needed
Yes.
everybody for that.
Also, we found out later from an Instagram post, I think from one of the crew members, that Hannah did that scene where she was watching from the security desk. Incredible job from Hannah there because she did it without seeing what was actually happening. So she was staring at a blank screen, and Paul W. Downs was just feeding her the lines, and you would not be able to tell.
No, no, you wouldn't be able to tell at all. You're acting against a blank monitor, like it's someone that you have a close relationship with is blowing up their life for you. Like, how do you just make yourself start crying on command with with one of the writers just crouched in the corner reading you lines like that? that's a different level that I don't know if any of us mortals will be able to achieve ever. And let's not forget, it's her first major acting gig.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on, at the Academy. Help us out here. Guys.
We're
Give her all
count
the
it.
give
Yeah,
her all the awards.
Hannah Emmy Binder coming soon. I also texted you after the episode. I was like, "How were you able to stay quiet after that and not say a word to me?"
It was so difficult. It took everything in me to, and I think I told you when I saw you on Carb Day that I almost sent you something. It was
Yeah,
because I was just on Twitter, and it's very much part of our routine that like the day after an episode we'll just
yeah,
send each other stuff. And I was just operating under the assumption, like for the last other 9 episodes this season, that you had probably seen it. And I nearly hit send to you on something that, like, I don't remember if it would have been a big spoiler or not, but it was hacks content.
hmm
And I had to stop myself and be like, I can't send this to him. I can't do it. But it took a lot of restraint. So let's not do that for the finale. But I think for this one time, I was able to be in control and patient. But just once. That's
just
the
once,
once in my life. Yeah.
just once. Well, luckily there
Don't
will be
ask me
no
to do it again.
interventions into the season finale.
We will have the little W's group chat cooking. That my mom is in. She's not gonna want to be included in this. We're gonna be blowing up her phone. She's gonna be like, guys, that's enough. I don't need to be a part of this. Like,
With
alright.
all of our silly hacks memes that we have stored in our phone that only
Yeah,
make
just
sense
all
to
the
you or
memes.
I.
I was telling them about your, not to bring back up your sunburn, but I was telling them about it, and I was and I was telling them that I was not being very helpful to you about it, where like I should have been like, are you good? You should probably put some aloe vera on that, like, you know, just like protect yourself, or like drink water. I should have been like offering good advice. And instead I was taking pictures of like, I was taking screenshots of memes I had in my camera roll and coloring them like partially opaque red and sending them back to you. It was like, that was so mean of me, but I was giggling. I was having fun. I sent you the girl who is gonna be okay, and I just made sure that I colored it super red and sent it back with girl who is burnt. Uh, so
I'm glad you had fun with that.
I did anything for a laugh, you know. You know me. But I was just giggling to myself in our little hotel room. I was like, this will be funny. I'm just sending it. Actually,
Oh,
I think
there
I
it
was at
is.
home for that because that was on like Saturday. So I think I was home for that incident. And it might have been when I was partially plastic wrapped, which I'm gonna blame that there was a cutoff of oxygen to my brain for that incident.
It was, it was on. You sent me a text on Saturday afternoon, and you said, "Richie, girl, what is this sunburn?" And I was so confused. I was like, "How the hell are you supposed? How do you know about this?" I was so confused.
Did you figure it out, or do I need to tell you?
I think I got the gist of it. I didn't realize that you were part of the shared album. I didn't realize that you were added into that. So, which I did not realize that that picture was added to this shared album, and it became a known thing.
It was, and I just got a notification that Crash had added stuff to the album, and I think that was the first photo on the tiles. So that was what came up when the notification dropped down. I was like, oh my God, I have to click on this immediately to figure out what it was, and then I quickly figured out what it was. But yeah, I had my inside media source, and I just sent you memes. My fault. It's like instead of providing medical advice, I sent you Hell Yar, unedited,
Hmm
Lady Gaga, slightly red, and then Girl Who Is Burnt.
I would like to point out, first of all, that I was not actually in any pain whatsoever, and it didn't bother me. And people, I was like, are you? I was like, fine. I was fine. I couldn't even tell. Didn't even know.
That's that's a miracle, honestly, because usually when you get one like that, it burns or you start to get, overheated or something. Like just anytime you
No,
get more sun exposure on something like that, you're like, oh, I think I'm being broiled alive.
no, yeah, I didn't bother me whatsoever. Surprisingly, it was fine.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't. Only time it bothered me was when I was taking a shower. That hurt, but other than that, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's fine. Now we're getting multiple days past, so I think we're into the peeling portion.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear. I did this on Speed Freaks earlier, so I can do it on this on for the podcast as well. So I will
Oh
turn
God.
around, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see what it looks like now. Okay, I'm gonna grab this. Hang on a second. Hopefully, I don't know if you'll be
It,
able to see this. So
yeah, I don't think it's gonna be nearly as half as bad as the picture that was sent, but
no, it's not. It's yeah. You can still see. The funny thing is, is you can still see where my credential was. All right, what is that? Is
oh, the
that
lanyard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have a nice tan line, I'll call it.
what does that look like? Wait, hello? Did I lose you?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I might have lost you when you took your headphone out, but no, it's you have a nice striping pattern where it's burnt, and then there was a lanyard on, and then it's also burnt below that.
Yeah.
But it's not so bad. It's not the horrifying level that it was when I first got that shared photo. Because that looked like what first happens when you put a piece of chicken on a hot pan and it starts to grill. it was it was truly something. I'm really impressed in a bad way.
Hey, we're good. It didn't get. I remember to put sunscreen on Sunday, so we're good. I'd see a little
And then
vitamin
you
D.
probably didn't even need it on Sunday because it was cloudy the whole day.
Yeah,
But
still put some on.
yeah, UV, wear your sunscreen, kids.
Didn't want to make it worse, but yeah, you know what? Like I said, I just wanted to get some vitamin D. Is that so bad?
You got a lot. You got a lot. So anyway,
Look at I mean, I'm preaching in the choir because I'm talking to you and we're talking about how white we are, but
right.
you know,
Well, but I look different because I maybe have the ghost of self tanner still on me, but I'm also very red right now in this lighting for whatever reason. But yeah. Oh, what a time! What an experience, really. But it was good to see you and to be a part of that and to beef with each other in person and not just on the internet like we do every week. So,
true.
well, look at that. We didn't even go an hour and a half somehow.
Yeah, we got yeah. What is wrong with us?
I don't know. Maybe it's because we saw each other in person. We have less to discuss.
Well, actually, the last time we saw each other and then we came back, you were like, our roasts are always worse off after we see each other.
They are. They are. That has to be some like law of the universe. I don't know. That's like if I feel like I can poke at you in person, then I can do it on the internet.
Yeah.
But if I only talk to you over text, I have to restrain myself.
Yes. And now we'll see each other again in approximately 2 months. So that's not too bad.
No, that's not. And we're gonna be spending an extended amount of time together, so it'll maybe be a level that we've never attained here on the show. We'll have more content though. We'll have so much content
Yes.
if we remember to make it, which we never do. No. We always threaten to do that. We're like, we're gonna bring you all this content, and then we don't make it
No.
because we forget to record stuff. But it is what it is.
I will remember to bring sunscreen for SDCC.
Yeah, that'll be necessary. Well, it might not be necessary if you're in a fur coat, but maybe for your face so you don't get burnt. Yeah, possible. Okay, we'll work on it. We have time to
Yeah.
workshop that. So
Yeah. Plenty of time to workshop.
Plenty. Well, we're running out of time. I'm staring at a scary amount of days on the calendar to try and get this thing done that's in a bunch of pieces of foam on my floor, but we will
Right.
overcome.
We shall overcome.
We will overcome.
We
Okay.
shall overcome.
Very nice. Very
That was
nice.
my Kennedy. That was my Kennedy.
Could be worse. I'll give you points for it. It could be worse. just like your sunburn. Could be worse. Could be better.
Could be worse.
Could be worse. Yeah. All right. We have been 1 hour, one brain cell. You have been listening to us for a full 69 episodes.
Nice.
And nice. I had to make it an even 4 because I felt like it was weird to just leave it at 3 times. So, you can follow us at OHOBC Pod on wherever you get your social media. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Nobody watches us on TikTok, which is weird. So please come watch us on TikTok. And YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I think that's it. That's too many anyway. So this is crazy. That's too many things. So many things to keep track of, but you can find us wherever you want to keep track of it. And happy Hack Season 5 renewal officially. And join us next week for all of the drama on the final episode. And what else? What do you have? What do you have to say?
You notice how they didn't say Hacks is renewed for a 5th and final season?
I did see that, but if we've learned a lesson from Agatha all along, it's that a lot of that is semantics, perhaps. We're still holding on for season 2 of that, though. It's coming home.
It's coming home.
It's coming home. Oh, and also, I guess, formally, congrats to Liverpool on winning the Premier League, but...
Oh, yeah, that happened, too.
That happened on Sunday, too. There was too much going on. Okay, great. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.